Hey there, everybody, it's me, your buddy Dave, the host here at the Dark Stuff channel. Thanks a lot for checking out the new video. And today we're back with another edition of random shit I pulled out of my record collection.
And it's going too far, cause you know it don't matter anyway. Somebody, but it won't get you too far, get you too far.
So today's pull is the 1978 live album Livetime from Daryl Hall and John Oates. Now, anybody who was alive, a sentient being in the 1980s, knows Hall and Oates. And sorry, guys, I'm going to call them Hall and Oates. I know they've always hated that. They like to be referred to as Daryl Hall and John Oates, but screw it. I don't know. They're never going to see this. You know, in my entire lifetime, I've never actually owned a Hall and Oates record prior to picking up this Livetime album. I mean, I heard tons of Hall and Oates, but my entire exposure to them was on the radio, on MTV. They were all over early MTV. I mean, they had so many videos and they were in constant rotation back then in the, probably from like 81 to 86 or 7 or so. They owned MTV. I mean, they were one of the biggest groups on there.
Thursday, an exclusive MTV press conference. Daryl Hall and John Oates announced their upcoming tour live on MTV, and you're the press. We'll give you the numbers. Daryl and John will take your calls and answer your questions.
And also, my little brother had Hall & Oates H2O on vinyl, and I know he had Private Eyes on cassette. And you know how it is when you're young and you have a sibling or whatever, like if they like something, you sort of don't like it. So he was really into like Duran Duran, Men at Work, Hall & Oates. So I was just like, screw that. I don't like any of that. I was more about, at the time, Kiss, Motley Crue, Van Halen, Rat, stuff like that. That was my world at the time. But I didn't really hate Hall & Oates or anything. I mean, it's hard to avoid. They had so many great, huge hit singles in the 80s. I mean, here's just a sample. Okay, You Make My Dreams Come True, Rich Girl, I Can't Go For That, No Can Do, Man Eater, Kiss on My List, Private Eyes, Out of Touch, Say It Isn't So, One on One. Did I even say Man Eater yet? Or Working, Leave Me Alone, a Family Man. Yeah, Family Man. Did It in a Minute. I mean, just a million hits back then. But that was their pop era, okay? And I'd always heard that in the 70s, when they were famous but not huge like 80s Hall & Oates famous, they were more of like a soul band or whatever. I hate that term, blue-eyed soul. I think it's so stupid. But anyways, I picked up this record just to see what it was kind of like and to hear Hall & Oates back in that period, because I'm pretty unfamiliar with their stuff except for the hits. You know, Rich Girl, Sarah Smile were 70s hits, and I am aware of those. So every band had to have a live record in the 1970s. I mean, it was obligatory. That was the era of the live album in the 70s. I've done whole videos on the best live albums. I'll put a link somewhere above or below or whatever. You can reference that at another time. I threw this on with little to no expectations, had no idea what to expect with the album. Maybe this is not a revelation to serious fans of Hall & Oates or people who have deeply listened to the albums, but I didn't know Oates sang. Like, I know he did backup vocals, and I know they're a duo, Hall & Oates. Most of the time they write the songs together. Just Daryl Hall was the singer, and that's the way I always thought they were. But, like, after Rich Girl, which is the opening track, that was a hit, they do this song called The Emptiness, which just sounds like 70s rock, and that's Oates singing. So that was unusual. Then you get another couple of Daryl Hall songs. And again, these weren't like super soul-y or whatever. It was just kind of like 70s sort of rock. They jump over to the side 2, and this is where it's very 70s because Sarah Smile is 8 minutes. And you know they didn't do that past the Carter administration. They stopped playing that 8 minutes. Some song called Abandoned Luncheonette, which was just, again, a 70s track. And then Room to Breathe closes out the record. It's only a single album. I liked it, though. You know, I guess at some point along the line, Hall & Oates made a creative decision, or maybe it was just a natural evolution to just sort of streamline the sound, be more pop, and not do this sort of the no more long songs. No, I mean, that was also just the decade. I mean, a lot of bands went from a certain 70s vibe into the 80s, but Hall & Oates fully embraced the 80s, and they owned 1981 to like 1985. They owned the pop charts at that point. I know you say Michael Jackson or whatever, but I think Hall & Oates actually had more hits. But you know, you can look that up if you feel like obligated. So, I mean, will I ever listen to this again? Yeah, probably. I will. It's not bad. It's not good enough to get me to go and pick up earlier Hall & Oates records or even the 80s stuff. I mean, I'm still fine with just being kind of a greatest hits guy for Hall & Oates, but this is just an interesting document about what they were like at that time. And, I dug it. Yeah, so this was a good pull for this time. So, all right, everyone. Thanks a lot for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.